Call this Washington County Board of Education meeting together. After a moment of silence, I would like for that little girl sitting right there to come up here and lead us in the pledge of the flag. Will she do that for me? Yeah. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Thank you all. She knows that we want to get this meeting over with tonight, so everybody here beside, except for me, will give you $1. So thank you. I see we've got some administrators. I don't see no county commissioners. Do you see any county commissioners? I don't see any. I want everybody here to know that Annette Buchanan has to be on her best behavior tonight because her daddy's sitting out here and mother. So
they're leaving right after the kids say.
You think they will? No, I think I'm going to get him to stay. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Look, you'll be late.
I need a motion on to consider the consent agenda.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please. Just a second. We're trying something new here, so it's going to be a little slow tonight.
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
And Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Okay, now I need a motion to consider the meeting agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I add the athletics committee report to the agenda, please?
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Got a second?
You also need to do the policy.
And the policy as well, I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Add policy to the meeting agenda. Do I have a second adding the policy?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Are we ready?
Yes. Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have with us this evening a bunch of Lamar Cherokees. I think out in the hall downstairs in the room we just covered up Lamar Cherokees.
That's good.
Leslie Lyons, I believe, is tied up in a PTO meeting.
She's not here.
She's here?
walked out.
Well, it doesn't matter. She's not in the room. So Karen McDermott, you're in charge. Come on up here.
I am completely unprepared. Good evening. We are so proud of our Cherokee community out at Lamar, and this was art that was produced by Mr. Ken Snyder's classes. We have with us our guidance counselor, Mrs. Ava Clark, and she's going to be doing an activity with you all. Were the kids going to sing first, or? We can do either way. I think we'll start with your program. Mrs. Clark would like to work with you by doing a restorative circle, which is something that we've implemented in our school. You can explain the ways in which we're using the restorative circles, and she'd like to do an activity with you all this evening.
So some of the things that we're starting to do at Lamar is putting in restorative justice practices. And what the goal of that is to build community, build connections between the kids so they can be starting to address some of those little conflicts even amongst themselves without the help of an adult. Learning how to communicate to each other, how to express their feelings, and how they are viewing situations and how they see them being resolved, with the goal of restoring the relationship, not just having punishment for when someone does bad, but working with those relationships to restore them. So circles are one of the big things that we do. So a lot of times when we have two kids with a conflict, we sit down together and everybody gets a chance to express themselves, how they view the situation, what do they need for that situation to be resolved, and if there's need for apologies, things like that, that's all part of the process. One of the steps before we would get to situations like this is having morning meetings or community meetings in our classrooms. One of the third grade classes is doing a morning meeting every single day. And there's several other classes in our building who are starting to do that. They just meet, have a little discussion. The teachers would have a little prompt that the kids will answer. I've sat in like a little kindergarten class where they do it, and the kids are being very insightful, being very thinking through the question, whatever it is for the day, and expressing themselves, but also listening when it's not their turn. So learning all those interactive skills. So I would like to do a quick little circle with you all. This week we have been celebrating random acts of kindness, and today was Thoughtful Thursday. We always have something to pass around, and since it's been very wet, I brought my frog. All right. So whoever's holding the frog has the chance to talk. So your prompt for today is, when you have the frog, turning to the person on your left, tell them something kind or thoughtful that you appreciate about them, or something you want to just compliment them on. All right, we'll have to start from here.
Oh, I'm ready. It'll take a while.
You don't have a clue what to do.
You don't know how bad this unthoughtful is right now.
I'm ready. I'm thinking.
You don't know how hard this is.
We got time to read, I mean.
Something thoughtful.
Something thoughtful, something kind. You can make it as personal as you like, or if you feeling, look, here's the thing though, if you are very uncomfortable, the thing about circles is you can pass. If you don't know what to say, it is okay, that's part of being in the circle. It's safe for you to pass and people will still accept you. Okay?
Chad, I'm very glad you're here tonight, serving on this board. You are a true gentleman.
Boy, it's getting deep
Thank
now.
you so much. Thank you, Todd. I'm touched. Can I tell you
I thought I had a
I'm ready for it. Mr. Day, I really like your hair tonight. Thank you. You're a good guy. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. You're welcome. You had me from hello. Thank you for being such a dear memory.
Ron Kill, I am so proud of you getting that honor as our Rhone Scholar. That is fantastic. We are all.
Mr. Flannery, Dr. Flannery, I appreciate the trust you put in me, and I appreciate the trust that you put in me, and I have the word in my head now. I can't think of it.
I guess wing confidence.
I'm trying to wing it. That's what. Yeah, and the confidence that you put in us students to come up here and represent the school.
That's very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
No, Mr.
You can pass, you
I
did say.
remember when I was 22, and I guess you were 15 or 16, you were student at Crockett, and I never thought you and I would end up where we are. And I will tell you that I have enjoyed every minute of the last year and a half that you have been chairman, working with you closely as executive.
I thank you so much.
You're gonna make us cry.
Annette, I want you to know that you're the best child that your father has.
I'm the only child.
That's what, I didn't say that. He is a lucky, lucky man to have such a wonderful daughter that he does. Well,
I want you to know that I appreciate the way you interact with our students when we go to school visits. You're very in tune to them, and you communicate with them well.
Mr. Hammond, tomorrow's Valentine's Day, but I just wanted to remind everybody of that. I think you work real hard for the school board, especially in Nashville, staying connected with our legislatures and whatnot. You listen to the parents, and appreciate all you do to try to make Washington County schools the best schools in the region.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McLean, thank you for your service to our country and the Navy, and thank you for the service that you've given to our students and our teachers in the county over the last few years.
Thank you very much.
Your cross.
You guys are.
I'll take Mr. Frog. We start all of our faculty meetings now with the meeting. And I always bring a different question, and sometimes it's a lot of laughter, sometimes there's a little tears, but mostly it's all about building that community and building that trust and those relationships. So,
ma'am,
yes, sir.
Mr. McLean needs to say something nice
I
about
did.
you.
I told him I like his haircut.
Oh, you did? Okay, let me
Yep.
hear that.
He's got a lot more than I got.
So I appreciate you all indulging me and indulging us with this activity, and I hope you learned something.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
I've got a question. Are you gonna leave that here for the rest of the board meeting?
As long as I get it back later.
Speak and hold your tongue.
I'll guarantee you
Yeah, we
get
need
it back,
it from
Mary
Mary
Ann. We
Ann.
may need it.
All right.
It's gonna be a long night.
Ask the frog.
The first one that gets upset with each other is gonna have to hold on to the frog.
That's why it's a squishy, so you can always squeeze it a little bit to get that
Do you have more
energy out.
frogs? That's the only one you got?
Yeah, that's the only one I got.
Make them back to no stuff.
Yes. Next, we have our third grade. And they have come prepared to sing for you and also to recite a poem. This is our music teacher, Mrs. Leanne Houston.
Power on.
And do you want to look at it for a little bit? Thank you all. Thank you.
Speaking of art, to my left, you'll notice a piece of artwork that was created at the Jonesboro School separation. I suspect many board members' handprint is on that piece of canvas. That is on loan for just this board meeting for the school board for you to see. It'll go back to the town of Jonesboro for safekeeping. I think the idea is that it will hang in the new school upon completion. So your fingerprints will be legible clean. Now, this year's Student Congress on Policies in Education, or SCOPE, will be held on March 10th. You'll recall this is an annual event sponsored by the Tennessee School Board Association. Washington County has participated for many years, and I would like to introduce this year's attendees who are in the room with us. Would, from David Crockett High School, Emily Chafin and Emma Googe please come up? Come on, ladies. And from Daniel Boone High School, Jacob Jenkins and Caleb Anderson. Guys, come on up. We need to take a look at you. Now, board members, I want you to look at this paper. I'm going to send you this. This is their vitae. I can't possibly read this. You want to read it for yourself. They've already accomplished more in the 11th grade than most of us in their lives. They have been selected in a fairly arduous process, and they are going to be school board members for a day, and then this fall I'll bring them back to you and nominate them as school board members for a year. Do you have any questions, comments, or observations for these four high school juniors?
Which one's which?
Okay. Please identify yourself.
I'm Caleb Anderson.
I'm Jacob Jenkins.
I'm Emma Gooch. I'm Emily Chapin.
I'd like to use my time to ask you if any of you have a question for any of us. You've seen us pass the frog around. We hadn't even got started good yet in the meeting, but any questions? Yes, sometimes these meetings do last till 11 o'clock. They're not usually real quick. Everybody being bashful tonight?
We appreciate you all doing this.
We appreciate it.
Has anybody told you what's going to happen at SCOPE?
Yeah, Kate and Ron Keel talked to us.
Okay, Ron Keel's filled you in. What do you have to say to...
About it?
Yeah.
You want me to say that?
I mean,
Give us an advice.
So, I mean, I kind of had a whole conversation out. Did anybody talk to you guys about it?
Yeah, we had a Lincoln Jones and Melanie McClellan.
Yeah.
Something about it.
I mean, basically, you're going to be given some topics to debate about, and you can kind of prepare yourself about those topics before you get there, and that will really help a lot. Once you get there, you don't get to pick like which topic you want to support. They're going to give you that, and then you have to come up with what supporting evidence to support it. And then you're going to go and kind of in front of a huge group, much bigger than this. So you have to put your game face on. If you get chosen from your group to represent them, then you'll go up to support, and you guys have the argument that's for the debate topic, the arguments that's against the debate topic, and you'll speak about it. And it gets a little feisty. So whoever wins, we do like an electronic vote. All the kids in the stadium or auditorium or whatever, where it'll cast their vote, and then you'll see it on screen, see whoever wins. Then they'll go on to another round, it's like rebuttal and whatnot. And at the end, I think they get chosen for the state student representative. So you can be like the president of it, secretary, and so on. And yeah, that's how it goes.
It'd be great if y'all would come back with some offices. kind of feathering this board's cap.
Marquil, aren't these typically up-to-date, modern topics?
Yes.
Like
they'll be
cell
current.
phone use and vaping and?
Yeah, one of them last year was like, should fighting be a zero tolerance policy in school grounds? And then another one was, it's talking about like AP classes. No, it's talking about, should sports be able to be substituted for classes? Something like that. And it's just, the topics will be relevant to what you're going through in high school right now. So it'll be interesting.
Did you have to apply for this?
Yes.
So how many people, do you know how many people applied?
14 for our school.
14, and were you interviewed or?
Yes. I think they interviewed about 7.
Yeah.
7 of us got interviewed.
Boone's process is a bit different. What was that like?
We were chosen. One day we got a phone call from the guidance office, said to come down to Springfield, and they presented us with the information and told us that we had been selected. I think they choose a certain amount, and then they give it to the principal and give it to the guidance counselors, and they kind of review our, what we do, extracurricular activities and our grades and things, and make a decision from there.
So are you looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm very excited.
Upon your return, you'll be asked to come to the following school board meeting and report out, and you'll get a lot of questions.
When is, Dr. Flannery, when is it? February?
March 10th.
March.
March 10th. And I guess Scott LaVoy will be showing. God bless you. All right.
I want to say something that Emma Goode is a real top-notch basketball player. She's, bless her heart.
We have an all-conference football player from Boone standing there. I mean, these students have distinguished themselves in multiple. Where do you read this? I'll send it to you tomorrow. All right, students, thank you.
Proud of you.
Tomorrow's a school day, I hope. And it's supposed to be.
Maybe it's snow.
Gotta get some rain out there.
No, that's snow.
He's trying to please it.
Thank y'all for stepping up.
And
Thank you all.
we're starting an interesting journey. All right. Board members, there is in your Dropbox a generic agreement for the lease of the old Boones Creek Elementary building to TCAT Elizabethton. I had hoped to ask you for approval tonight, but negotiations have simply not gone far enough. In fact, I wish I could have taken it off the agenda, but it was too late. I'm working with Attorney Scott Bennett on this, as he has experience in leasing buildings to TCAT. This happened with him in Hamilton County. Our communication is ongoing. I'm hopeful that we can come up with something before the end of the fiscal year. It is my sense that getting the Tennessee Higher Education Commission to do anything is painfully slow. If it were up to the folks in Elizabethton, we'd have this hammered out. A lot of folks in Nashville have to agree to it, and I have nothing for to submit to you tonight. All right, next on the board's annual agenda, it calls for presentation of a budget calendar. Brad Hale and I met recently and devised such a calendar that's in your Dropbox. I asked Brad to come forward now and walk you through it. While he's coming up, I'm going to remind you of some language in Tennessee Code Annotated 5-105. And I quote, "No later than May the 1st, each LEA shall submit a proposed budget to the Director of Accounts and Budgets," and I guess that's you, provided that the LEA may amend the budget after May the 1st. And Brad, you have the floor.
Thank God the county's a rough one to deal with, too. Okay, just kidding. Okay. So if you've had a chance to look at it, so where I'll start is we listed the state of the state address from the governor that happened on February 3rd, just where we get some information about Tennessee's upcoming budget and how it relates to education. So February 6th, Director of Schools to present budget timeline to the board, which I believe that was done in an email or in the Dropbox. So February 17th, I'm going to begin budget meetings with department directors throughout the system, and that'll take place over the 2 weeks following. And what I do with that is I sit down with each director and we talk about what's in their budget now and then what will change for next year. Will there be any additional needs? What are those needs? And I start compiling a list requests at that time. And over the next 2-week period, as I go through the system directors, that list will compile, and then we will complete that on March 2nd. And at that time, me and Dr. Flannery will be in communication anyway, but we'll certainly have communication at that time for a master list with what I've gathered, and then any information that has been passed to Dr. Flannery, whether it be from board members to Dr. Flannery, we will kind of put it all together at that time. And at least by March 20th, we will finalize the expense structure of the budget, meaning what our requests are at that time. We won't have revenue at that time because the state will not give us the first BEP estimate until around April 20th time frame, and that's over 51 or 52% of our budgeted revenue, as you know from our class meetings last year. So at the April 9th board meeting, we will certainly, myself and Dr. Flannery, be able to have the expense component, a draft completed for the board, and again, revenue will only be estimated at that point. It will usually be on up in April, and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong here, but more towards that end of April when you'll have the final property tax numbers where we can look at sales tax, property tax on the county side and get some pretty accurate numbers too. So, but the expense structure we'll have in place, and a list of all additions that have been requested. And then at the end of April, call board meeting. We want to go ahead and put on the calendar for April 28th if the board is agreeable to that, because by that time we'll be able to lock down the revenue estimates and have a really close idea at that time. On the county side, the sales tax, property tax, which is your biggest two revenue sources by far, we'll have that pretty locked down as what that should be. The BEP, if you remember, it will vary per month. Starting in April, we'll get that first estimate, which should get us very close, but when we get May, June, and July as the final estimate, it will certainly vary some as those numbers for ADA numbers for student attendance come in and it gets finalized. But the April 28th is kind of the meeting, the time frame we were hoping to be able to get it locked down with the meeting. And then at that time, the board, you'd have the full expense structure, all the list, and it would be up to you to decide what we keep in the budget at that time or put in the budget. And of course you could talk about, I'll be bringing you 5 budgets basically, about 5 budget examples. One will be with the mandatory step increase for salary only, and you'll see where that falls. And then there'll be a 1, 2, 3, and a 4% option for raises, and we'll be able to evaluate where we are at that time in relation to any shortfalls or overages, whichever it may be, and your decision at that point. And once we come out of that meeting, whether it be April 28th or right there around that, we'll then present that to the county director of budgets and accounts, which at this time is Mr. Meredith. And then moving forward into May is where we get an idea if the county accepts that or not. Should they accept it, great, we'll move forward. But if they don't, why is her laughing? If they don't accept it though, then we call some, May's a time where we typically will have to have multiple budget meetings if necessary to get that back. And the last 2 years, the county has conducted budget meetings on a weekly basis in the month of May for budget season, so we wouldn't have to wait a month. So I'm assuming, has that still been talked about, Mitch, as far as?
Actually, Mayor Grandy's convening departmental budget meetings in March and early April. So, you know, I think he's trying to get this thing wrapped up sooner rather than later. But, you know, to the extent that we need to do stuff with the Board of Education.
And at least the last 2 years, we haven't had to take the budget in budget season through Hugh Committee. We were able to go straight to the Budget Committee for the purpose of setting the yearly budget. So definitely a hard deadline would be the end of May, have to have that budget finalized and accepted by the county, or at least ready to go to the county with a budget they'll accept, because that way in June, it goes through the Budget Committee and gets on the agenda for the June County Commission meeting, which that's kind of a hard stop date. We really don't want to not have it approved by the June Commission meeting if it's all possible. So that kind of is a high-level overview of how budget season is upon us. So for next year, for FY21, and how we'll structure the timeline.
Question?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I guess a comment as much as a question or a wish from my standpoint. I guess we all remember the budget, original budget the last 2 years and how much out of balance it was. What I would like to ask our director and Director Hale to do this year, as you work with the different departments, I'm asking that you have the department heads or them along with you guys to prioritize their request. They need to make those decisions rather than us. We've got X amount of money to spend. I want to give them what they need the most to do their job. And I know there'll be multiple items in every department. Some items will be more beneficial to our students and our system and our objectives than others. So I'd like to see those items prioritized, either in a high, medium, and low, or a 1 through 10. However you guys want to do it, but I'd like to see them come to us prioritized. Now, at number 1 may be so expensive it wipes everything else out, but if it is, then we pick the highest priority item on the list. You understand what I'm asking?
It's a difficult ask.
It's a difficult task, absolutely. Better the folks that's doing the work make the decisions or prioritize them than us.
In the final format of that, so when myself and Dr. Flannery meet, we'll have each department, with each department prioritizing their needs. So when we bring that master list together, I assume that's something we would need to discuss and then prioritize the master list so that when the board sees the final list.
That's up to you guys.
Everyone, okay.
It's up to you guys.
Any other comments?
Good luck.
I have, please go ahead.
Oh, just good luck.
I have one. Ultimately, the budget is a creature of the Board of Education. Not Brad Hale, not Bill Flannery, not a supervisor. This is one of the single most important things the school board does, period. I request, I ask, I beseech you, contact me, call me, send me an email, text me, tell me what your budget priorities are so that we can get it in there beforehand. I would certainly ask that you do that during the month of February. I've talked to some of you privately, and the things that you've asked, we're working in. Please, this budget needs to reflect your needs and wishes because you follow the flight plan for Washington County Schools. We may follow the thing, but the blueprint is yours.
May I share with the board what you and I've already talked about?
Certainly, and others.
In looking at our overall structure and how we do supplements for coaches and so forth, we've got some CTE folks that are in competition just like our sports teams are. The robotics team does traveling, they do competition. A lot of these robotics teams are working after school and on weekends. And I spoke with Ms. Fink and also with Dr. Flannery about coming up with an enhanced, call it whatever you want to, an enhanced pot of money for our CTE teachers to pay them something for this extra time and effort that they're putting in. And I've already asked both of them to be thinking about it, looking at it. I don't have the answers for it. I'd like to see it done perhaps on a scale of how many hours that they put into the program at their particular school. But something that will help to reward those, just like we do with supplements for coaches. Because some of these guys are, I know the guy at Crockett puts in just about every Saturday. He puts in a tremendous amount of time. I went down to visit him the other Saturday when he invited all of us. I don't know who else went, perhaps. But he had like 20 kids down there working. It was amazing stuff they were doing. And they weren't just lollygagging around, they were working. That's all I have. Thank you.
So please express to us, to me, what do you want to say about it? Anything else for Brad Moses? All these things will be working.
Well, you don't, I mean, I understand what you're saying there, but do you think we might ought to have a board meeting, get together and talk about budget issues?
You will. I mean, I've never seen a year yet.
Well, that's what I was thinking. This is
We're talking about before April 28th.
before
Yes.
April 28th.
Well, that would be up to you.
Yeah.
But it'll,
That's what, man.
Yes.
I mean, that, Keith, you do raise a good point, because I'm assuming the first, well, we're gonna see the expense components on the 9th.
Yes. Yes.
So we've got some time in there to make some tweaks before we have to pull the trigger on the 28th.
Well, we're gonna send it to them on the 28th, whether it's turned down or comes back or what, but, you know, everybody's got something they'd like to see, and I think we really need to talk about it and decide, you know, what's number one priority here. You know, we're finally waiting on raises and finally waiting to see what we're gonna get, government from state. That's all I got. Anybody else?
Ron Keel Joyner, recent winner of the prestigious Rome Scholarship. And a man who only has 60 school days left in his high school career. Do you know that? 60 days.
I don't think about that much.
Well, that's my has this month Will Washington. The floor is yours.
Do I control it just in line again? I forgot.
Do it.
I'll just tell you next?
Yep.
Okay. So, it's Black History Month, so I thought I would obviously honor some Black history that's worldwide and from local. Alright, so that website that you just saw was from Undefeated, which is like a website that just kind of does Black history. And they had Undefeated 44, but those 4 right there, I mean, everybody knows who Obama is, and most people know who Serena Williams is. I did not know who Jean Michael Basquiat was. I heard of him, but I never really known him. So Jean Michael Basquiat he produced vibrant and emotional canvases with a kind of refined, cool, reminiscent improvisational jazz. Greats such as Charlie Parker, Thelonious Monk, and Miles Davis. I had to Google those because the only person I knew from that was Miles Davis. Yes.
Okay.
He produced vibrant and emotional canvases with a kind of refined, cool, same thing. Well, in May 2016, Basquiat's 1982 Untitled painting, which is the one on the right here, shattered his auction world record and sold for $57.3 million. Wow. Yes. And then actually sold again. I found him online. Actually sold again for I think $110 million. Wow. Yes. Art is expensive. that is right. Yes. The next was Maya Angelou. I had heard of Maya Angelou my whole life, but I'd never really heard of her story. I'd never read her book or her books or whom that she was recently. So here's her story. It is remarkable. I only read just her bio and I was like blown away. So I couldn't imagine what her book is like. So she joined the Harlem Writers Guild and with help from a friend and fellow author James Baldwin, went on to write I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings in 1969. First in what would become the 7-volume best-selling autobiographical series. Nearly a decade later, Angela struck poetic gold with And Still I Rise, a collection that remains one of her most important works. Angela was also fearless and determined civil rights activist, serving as the Northern Coordinator for Martin Luther King Jr., Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and working with Malcolm X to establish the Organization of Afro-American People. All right, so the next one is the McKinney Center, if you know downtown, which is where we had our formal at. It was actually before that the school at Booker T. Washington, which was the school for our black people when there was segregation. And before that, it was the Warner Institute, which was the whole history. But so, okay. So,
Mr. McKinney,
yes.
is the reason Washington County Schools has Dr. King's birthday as a school holiday. It was his motion.
So he served as a teacher. He served as a teacher and principal at Langston High School, which was the McKinney Center was kind of like the elementary school for African American people, and then it went to Johnson City, which is Langston High School, which is like a high school for African Americans. And so he also served as a teacher and assistant principal at Science Hill when integration came. And then he was the first African American to serve on the Board of Education in 1980. And then in 1968, he became the first African American to be an alderman in Jonesboro. And then his son kept the legacy going. Kevin B. McKinney was also the first African American mayor of Jonesboro. So I couldn't get it. Well, I went to McKinney Center before I came here, and there's a picture, but online I couldn't really tell if it was him or not in the picture because we just didn't tell. So, was with him? Okay. That is it. That's that one.
There's no more.
There's no more?
Nope.
Okay, well, I have more on here. I was still doing it, so I don't know. Okay. Well, I have more on my computer. So, our David Crockett is about to be performing our next play, which is going to be called The Mouse That Roared.
Called what?
The Mouse That Roared. Roared. I have a hard time saying that.
Roared, like a tiger?
Roared. Like roared.
The mouse that roared.
The Mouse That Roared. The dates are, so the public show, first one is March 21st. The public show, the second one is March 22nd. You guys will honestly probably love it. It's more of a mature show. It's kind of like a political satire, but not in like a, it won't be offensive to anybody, basically. So you guys will love it. It's about this little country over in Europe that the economy is failing, and so they kind of, to reboost their economy, they declare war on the United States, and it kind of takes a plot twist that I'm not going to tell you guys, and I think you guys will love it. So I hope to see you guys. Yes, I am.
We'll get you the information. And what I want to do is get the Pioneer players to go watch Boone's play this year and reciprocate and get them to come over. I think that's been agreed.
Okay. It's at 7:30 on March 21st and 2:30 on March 22nd.
Board members get a discount on tickets.
I mean, I'm sure you guys just get it free, honestly, if you guys. I'm just kidding. Also, Crockett will be having a blood drive next week on Friday, so you guys will get blood. Also, there's another play, which is at the McKinney Center, which I was talking about. It's called Lifelines, and we did a play last year called The Long Trip Home. We did a year for that called I'm Home. You came to it, yes. And so this how the plays are kind of done. It's kind of like a collaborative play. It's kind of a collaborative play of hometown stories intertwined into like a central theme. And so this year's is Lifeline. It's kind of like the people we reach out to, the moments we hold on to, and just the community kind of keeping us together and go through these hard times. And
When is this?
When is it? It is from March 8th. It starts February 28th is the first show, and it's from 28th, 29th to the 1st, and then next weekend on March. That's and then next weekend on March 7th through the 9th, it'll be the next show. It's all on Facebook, so if all you guys are on Facebook, and that is all I have.
Okay. You're up for next.
All right, section V. In your Dropbox is a list. I'll let you go ahead and find it. In your Dropbox is a list of 29 professional educators employed by Washington County Schools. Their records, having been reviewed by their building principals and by the Human Resources Department, indicate they are each eligible for tenure in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated Title 49, Chapter 5, Part 5. It is my honor as a fellow professional educator to recommend each of these individuals for tenure, and at this time request a vote by the Board of Education.
Okay, do I have a motion that we accept these teachers as tenure?
I move that we accept these teachers for tenure.
And I second.
Have a second? Any discussion?
I have a question. Doesn't our policy call for a celebration of awarding tenure? Give us an opportunity to meet all these folks?
Which will occur at 5:30, 1 hour before the next board meeting.
Thank you very much.
We'll have them all in, certificate, bunch of cookies.
Thank you.
Any more? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yeah.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Committee reports. Facilities. Mr. Day?
No.
Yes. What? Good, okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Do we put that, do we put that in everybody's Dropbox? Boss,
Yes.
do I need to read it, or there's a couple things we need to discuss for sure, but if y'all want me to read the whole thing, I will.
Well, give us a motion to accept the report.
Can I get a motion to accept the facilities report?
Second.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor of the report, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Continue on, Mr. Day.
Thanks, sir. I'll just hit some of this stuff. One thing I'll bring up here, it talked about the, and I'm gonna bring it up because I thought Dr. Flannery may know an answer. The Boones Creek benches, it says they purchased them, they don't match.
The benches that they had on hand that did match that were correct have all been installed. Some that they bought and had in storage for some reason don't match, just aren't the right thing, have been returned and will be swapped for the right ones.
So, okay.
And I have assurances that as soon as they get here, they'll be installed.
Okay.
How many are there now?
I think there's enough for 2 complete rows all the way. I don't know an exact number. One side is completely finished and the other side is partial.
Thank you.
Okay, so the committee discussed the brick repair and the current estimate for the project. Mr. Patrick said it would require a rebid of the project for an updated estimate. The committee requests Mr. Patrick go ahead and inform the Hugh Committee a request would be forthcoming. On a motion from Mr. Ganger and a second by Ms. Buchanan, the committee unanimously approved and recommends that the full board to allow BLS Thompson Litton to provide a budgetary number for the re-brick project on Grace School. And if you want me to explain, what we talked about was, we feel like that we need to be, I think, to present these and ask for money when we really don't know what we need is sort of silly. So we discussed on some of these projects, it's on this 5-year plan and all these different things that we, of course, find out what they're going to charge us, but get some actual numbers so that when we do go to the Hugh Committee or whatever committee it needs to go to, that we know what we're talking about instead of just guessing. And we're going down here, we're talking about the same thing on this list about the stadiums for Boone and Crockett. I think Chad had brought up talking, maybe everybody going over and check out Unicoi when that gets finished, and I think somebody mentioned the date on that would be done. So again, I think that we ought to explore actual budgetary numbers that are accurate and not old, so that if we do go ask for money, we know what we really need instead of just kind of guessing. Other thing on here that was we probably need to discuss, we talked about cutting the power, water, and basically winterizing Boones Creek Middle. And then check on maybe keeping the power available, but keep the breaker so we're not paying a bill, and try to cut back on that cost there. So I don't know how we need to go about that, if that's just something we need to vote on, or Dr. Flannery can handle that, or how y'all, I don't know how y'all want to handle that, but because I think you said it's cost us $8,000 a month, is that?
About $8,400 a month. And about half that's insurance.
Yeah, I figured part, yeah. But I mean, if we're not gonna do anything with it, it's $4,000 a month we're just throwing away, so. But I think Mr. Ganger mentioned, which is probably a good idea, not to necessarily cut the power off, but just physically cut it off, so that it's not burning energy.
They still need it on to show it, don't they?
In case they do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'd call the power board to cut it off,
Right, no.
but just kill it.
You know, people a little in these buildings too. I mean, if you drop down, I mean, you know, the building sits there in 10-degree weather, it's not heated, it's not good for it.
Yeah. Well, we just think, I mean, and that's what I guess we need to discuss. We're just thinking about just winterize it and let it sit there. I know what you're saying, I don't disagree, but $4,000 a month, is it worth it?
Mr. McLean? Well, I guess my only thought in cutting the power off, what's that do to your fire alarm systems?
Won't have one.
Is that wise?
Well, but you're not saying cut the power off, you're saying throw the breaker, so you'd still leave that circuit running.
I guess you could, yeah, yeah. I mean, just to make sure, I guess, that there's not a lot of stuff running that don't need to be running, but yeah, I guess you could do that.
Yeah,
And I
but-
guess that'd be an insurance question. I mean, I guess we need to know what the insurance was okay with.
Let me ask a question. Let's go to the county commission or the health education committee or the budget or somebody like that, because they're all on board with us pushing this over to the state and letting them use it or letting them have it. That's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Wrong school. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, let them see if they help us pay the electric bill.
Well, I agree with that when you.
Either could be on both of them. You know, does anybody have a problem with us asking the director to go back and ask for?
I think the state needs to help us out.
Well, either that or the county, the commission, or the.
You're still getting off on the wrong track. This is the middle school.
I know.
I understand that, but I'm
We
saying
need
both of
both
them.
of them, yeah.
I'm saying both of them.
Okay. I just,
It don't hurt to ask. You know, and
Don't hurt to ask, that's
it
all.
don't hurt to ask.
So do we need to put that in the form of a motion as far as hiring Thompson Litton to give us some cost estimates for the brick repair at Gray and I don't know that we need to go into the stadium part yet, but at least the brick repair at Gray.
That would be appropriate, that would be appropriate. I don't think there'll be a charge, but it's still, you
Yeah.
can't go wrong with putting it.
Yeah. I just like to have a real number, because Mr. Patrick said the number we had was old and it wasn't even, it was a.
Did you all discuss any of the cause of the brick failure?
Yeah, we did.
Have we
We
figured out
did.
what's causing it?
I know what Tony Street told me one time, but, I mean.
We're still where we are.
It doesn't matter, I mean, it's due to just age. The wires that they used as brick ties basically have failed over however old that school is and rusted out. It's pushing the mortar out, so it's allowing moisture in. I think that school's got a lot of moisture. So we need to, and I thought maybe it was a roof issue at first, but I've been informed there's a pretty new roof on that building, I guess, that you all had done, so I don't think that's the problem. It sounds like it's all brick, so, but anyway, so do we have a motion to?
Are you putting it in the form?
I can.
The committee's got a recommendation.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just need a second?
You just need to read that.
Okay, so, get back up. It would be, I'm trying to find it. So the committee unanimously approved and recommends to the full board to allow BLS Thompson Litton to provide a budgetary number for the re-brick project at Gray Elementary School.
I have a second.
Second.
I'd like to make an amendment to that motion.
All right, you would bring up something else.
Well, I would like to bring in another architect, because I'd like to see, I want to make sure, it sounded like when I sat through the committee meeting that we had it re-roofed, thinking that was going to fix our problems, and it didn't. it's hard for me to believe the age of the school is 30, 40 years old, and the brick, when I live in a 100-year-old house, and the brick's still there. So I'd like to at least get another architect to at least look at it and bring us another set of eyes, in my opinion. So, well, that's my form of amendment. I'd like to amend that motion that we bring in a second.
Okay, do I have
Architectural
a
firm.
second on his amendment?
Second.
Second, okay. I'm gonna,
Do I have a question?
yeah, discussion on the amendment?
Some old birdie back here is telling me that, Russ Nelson's group, ESG, was gonna look at that and give us some ideas on it. That engineering group. Do I remember that right?
I don't
have any
think
memory
that.
We never did find out what was in that $12 million.
Well, that wasn't in his final figure, but I remember that being discussed a little bit. Never mind.
I don't remember.
Chad, I
Brother.
mean, how do you determine who that second architect
That's
is?
what I was gonna say, we need to elect one, or for the sake of time and not.
And actually, that opens up a bigger question
Don't we?
about what we do with architects as a
That
whole.
would be good, that you worked with, or, I mean, I'll amend that motion to, what's his name? This is the only one I know.
Yeah, Hutton and Kingsport.
I know
We
he
can
is.
ask him. I mean, if you just want a second opinion,
What about, Goins, Rash, Kane? I mean, they're architects and contractors.
that'd be fine too. I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea at all to do that.
I just don't wanna do, I mean, it sounded like we re-roofed, because we thought that was gonna fix it. It didn't fix it. Now we're gonna re-brick, and we're not so sure that
I
that's.
think we
gonna fix it.
re-roofed because we had to
We
re-roof.
needed a roof.
It needed to roof.
But we thought that was gonna fix the moisture getting behind the brick, correct?
I don't remember that, I really don't.
That's what was in the committee, you know, Mr. Patrick, of course, he's not here tonight, but Mr. Patrick said something about the, you know, they come down or whatever, with the extra sheeting, correct?
Over top of the,
Yeah.
over top of the
Oh,
brick.
brick.
They thought it was running in.
Right.
on the-
I'm just saying, let's make sure we're listening to make sure we're finding.
Well, it's probably not gonna cost us anything to get to opinions, so.
What was the original bid? Did anybody? How much?
I think that's worth taking us, getting a second set of eyes.
Keith, last time I was out there, when you walk in the gym, you can smell a musty smell. So there is obvious moisture issues out there.
And a lot of classrooms have to have those, yeah.
Yeah, dehumidifiers. So there's, I don't know if there's a wet weather spring out of that place or what, but there's some moisture getting in that building from somewhere. And I realize I'm not an engineer or an architect either one, but that brick coming out, there's gotta be a lot of moisture behind there that's freezing, that's pushing that stuff out. And it just gets worse every single year. Mitch, have you been out there to see it?
I have not.
You need to go. You need to go.
About 3 years.
Any of you that haven't been out there to see it, I urge you, the next time you get close to Gray, go out there, see the principal, and it's around behind the gym. It's where the bulk of it is. It's more than just that, but it's just, I've never seen anything like it anywhere else.
Well, would it be beneficial then to bring in the brick, people at, General Shell to come as well with the architects?
I'd just let the architects look at it to begin with.
What, you said it wouldn't cost us no more, why is that?
Well, I mean, I don't think either one of them will charge you to go out there and look at it and tell you what they think. And then we
I knew, BLS Thompson Litton wasn't,
Yeah.
but I don't know if the other one will.
Yeah. I mean, just an idea, so.
Well, I have a motion, I have an amendment. I need to take a vote on the amendment.
What,
Did you settle on an architect or you
would you?
Mitch said Goins, King, Rash.
I mean,
The only other one I would think off the top of my head is,
Well,
Steve Hutton and Kingsport.
let
I'll
me
let
ask.
Mr. Patrick take care of that.
Well, I kinda like the ideas of bringing General Shell involved and let them come out there with their people.
Well, they're
That's
not
what they're-
architects or engineers.
But they're
They
brick,
just sell
brick people.
Well, I
They
mean,
should know what they're
I
doing.
think Tony already knew what the problem is if he's right. So, I mean, he explained it to me one day in depth, but if it is, If it is, you got two choices, either figure out how to fix it and not tear the brick off, or tear the brick off and re-brick the
Well, it
school.
looks to me like you're gonna have to re-brick, tear the brick off, and I don't see how you can put the brick back if it's against the wall. That's my opinion. Chad?
Well, can I amend my motion to, what's the name of the?
Goins Cane Ranch.
Goins Cane Ranch?
Steve Hutton, anyone you want.
Steve Hutton lives down the road with me, but I mean, that's the only reason I was gonna say
Send
him.
it, throw him in there. That'd be good.
Steve Hutton.
Steve Hutt.
Hutton, H-U-T-T-O-N.
Steve Hutt. And that's an amendment to the.
No, my fault.
That's an amendment to his motion.
Is the motion will mention, yes,
Have a second.
I need a second on his amendment.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Day?
Yeah.
Mr. Day,
discussion
second.
on the amendment.
All right, discussion on the amendment, and there's no discussion.
Well, I do want to say one
Okay, go ahead.
thing. If it costs money, is this board still gonna be okay with it, or is it going to come back to us again? They say,
You want to amend that amendment to?
I'm asking if this board's okay.
Two amendments is all.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, if it's yeah, I mean, I don't,
Let's ask, let Mr. Flannery call the gentleman, ask him if he would be a charge.
I couldn't imagine anybody charged just to look at it. They just ain't gonna do no work, but I'm sure they don't care to drive out there and look at it. I wouldn't think.
If they
Mr.
charge,
Hutton
then we're
offered to
not
look at
going-
it for free 2 years ago, and I come on the board, and evidently we didn't want him to, but, yeah,
The same guy?
yeah. So, anyway, I don't think it will be called, but
I have a motion on the amendment. I need a roll call vote on the amendment.
No, I amended my first amendment. I just,
You're voting on Steve Hutt.
Steve Hutton, that's who we just made that, added him to your amendment. Okay? Roll call vote on the amendment.
Okay, Mrs. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
No.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
Discussion on the amendment.
All right, now, further discussion on the motion that was amended.
On the amendment, as amended.
We just amended.
Okay, whatever he said. Discussion on the motion, discussion on the amendment that has been amended, right?
Very good.
Very good.
Okay.
All right, now, let's go back.
Wait a minute, I've got to vote on it.
We got to vote on that,
We got to
too?
vote on that. We got to
Okay.
vote on that, yes, sir.
Put her to a vote.
All right, do I have a second? All right, roll call vote on the motion, on the amendment.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
No.
You go grouch today.
Mr. Hammond?
Give me a problem.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Oh, the,
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion as amended?
Now what, I thought we just voted on the motion.
You just passed the amendment as amended. Now you're back to the original motion as amended.
I thought his amendment was we just added,
The
we just
amendment
went.
was to add a second article.
Okay, all right. One more vote on the motion as amended, right?
Okay, Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Absolutely.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
That frog works.
Mr. Day?
yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Okay.
Can I move on for a
Yes,
minute?
you can.
Okay, so,
All right, everybody.
for clarity here, what do we wanna do with Boones Creek Power and Lights? Do we wanna talk about it? Do we wanna do something about it? Do we wanna winterize that building? Do we want, what do we wanna do?
I'd like to check with the insurance company to make sure they'll still, insure it if we turn off the power or turn off the lights or winterize it or whatever. So I'd like the insurance to be checked with before we go any further with that.
Okay.
Just a minor thing, Washington County Sheriff's Department is regularly using that building for SWAT training, dog training, shooting training. Now, they leave it in perfect condition, or they are using the building for some reason.
Okay, so they can pay for the power.
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody, let's.
Okay, so back to the, just I just wanna make sure I'm clear. So the stadium numbers, we're gonna hold off on that until further date. So,
Yeah.
okay. That's all I got.
I think we should go out and look at inventories and see what they've done before we get out and get numbers.
Sure. Is that all you have?
I'm good, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take a 5-minute recess.
You don't get called.
Okay, everybody, come back. Finance, Mr. McLean.
Yeah, committee's report is coming around to you. Or what you've got it in front of you, and then I'll read it to you. Everybody got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Finance Committee met on Thursday, February 13th, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. at the central office. Those present for the meeting were Chairman Philip McLean, committee members Mary Beth Dillinger, Mitch Meredith, Annette Buchanan, Director of Schools Dr. William Flannery, Dr. Holcomb, Director of Finance Brad Hale. Also in attendance were Angela Gwynn and Paul Masters. Committee considered the general fund financial statement for the month of December 2019, and the committee recommends approval. Committee considered the federal fund financial statement for the month of December 2019, and the committee recommends approval. The committee considered federal projects title inventory disposition. The committee recommends approval. Committee considered an IT van purchase through the state contract. Budgeted funds are available for this purpose. Committee recommends approval. Committee considered a request to modify the WCDE nurse pay schedule to match the tiered structure methodology the BOE previously approved for the bookkeepers and data clerks. This will take effect on July 1, 2020. Committee recommends approval. Committee considered a general fund internal budget amendment for category 71300. Since these funds are being allocated from the same budgetary category, this does not need county commission approval. Committee recommends approval. Committee considered a request to put a fence around a Grandview fencing project at Grandview Elementary School out for bid. This will be covered by the Safe Schools grant and is estimated to be around $18,000. Committee recommends approval. The committee considered a request from Director of Schools to approve a second assistant principal position at the new Boones Creek Elementary School through the end of FY20. Committee approves sending this to the full board for consideration. That completes the report. I move for approval of the report, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the report, please say aye.
I did have a question.
That's just the report. That's all this is. All right.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the report, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, Mr. McLean.
Thank you, sir. Committee considered the federal fund financial statement for the month of December 2019, and the committee moves for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion?
When he mentioned the assistant principal, that's for the end of the school year, right?
Yeah, but that's a different category.
It's a different part.
That's later.
Okay,
Hang on.
sorry.
Hang on. This motion is to approve, the motion that's on the table is to approve the general fund financial statement for the month of December 2019.
Okay, roll call vote on that, please.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Motion passes, Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee considered the federal fund financial statement for the month of December 2019, and the committee moves for approval.
I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee considered federal projects title inventory disposition. The committee recommends, moves for approval.
Have a second?
Second.
And that should be in your Dropbox. Isn't it, Jennifer?
I don't even know.
It was on the first part of the financial statements.
Okay.
It's in that.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, sir. The committee considered an IT van purchase through the state contract. Budget funds are available for this purchase. Committee recommends approval. Moves for approval, excuse me.
Second.
Second. Discussion, Mr. Fleener?
How much is this?
All right, if you look in your Dropbox, E1C 101A, whatever that means, mid-roof cargo 148, 3.5 engine, retails for $38,430. State contract is allowing us to buy it for $25,226. So the amount is for $25,226.
Okay. I just seen the list of vans. I couldn't tell that that's really what they were doing there.
Well, you can see they sort of highlighted that one area. It's kind of fuzzy, but that's
And
what it is.
My understanding, this is already put into the budget.
Yes, funds are there.
Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee considered a request to modify the Washington County Department of Education nurse pay scale to match the tiered structure methodology the Board of Education previously approved for bookkeepers and data clerks. This will take effect July 1, 2020, which will be our next fiscal year. The committee moves for approval.
Second.
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 Discussion.
Can you explain this, Dr. Flannery? Can you explain this,
Which one we looking at?
or have Brad, or?
The nurses pay.
Yes, some of these nurses work in schools that have 225 students. Some of these nurses work in schools that have 1,225 students, and they're paid exactly the same. And at this sliding scale, we'll put more money in the pockets of nurses that have greater responsibilities. Overall, the entire cost is $26,000. It's not a big budget hit, but it shows appreciation for these LPNs that are taking care of 3 and 4 and 5 times as many kids. And doing a bang-up job, because our absentee rate today went below 6%.
Did y'all get a copy of this?
We did the same thing with the secretaries a while back,
This
about a year ago.
basically amounts to a 3% raise, and I think the total cost to the system is about $26,000.
I'll get y'all to share if you don't.
We have to.
We actually have more finance committee.
I'll share with
We'll get
you.
the problem.
Can you all share? Okay, well, okay.
You got one, right? You got one.
Make sure y'all got it. The front page is the existing scale. The next 2 pages represents the sliding scale, and it's every 300 students, it goes up 3% with each level.
And it wouldn't start until next budget year,
Yes, that's all right.
July 1.
One of the questions I had for Mr. Hale, finance committee, weren't there. This scale, and I support it, so, but this scale represents a 3% increase in compensation from where our nurses are today. Okay.
On the bottom.
Huh?
Yes, on the entry level.
Well, what about all the different steps? Don't they all?
3 each.
Yeah, each step increases 3%, so it's essentially a 3% increase, which, I support that. But I think, the board needs to also understand though, that when my question to Mr. Hale was, if we end up, adopting across-the-board raises within the system based on the governor's recommendation or something else, that would be in addition to this pay scale.
That's a question from all past items. The dietary, the last budget year, the same, and then the data clerk and bookkeepers from about about a year and a half ago, same scenario there, it would apply.
So this is kind of, I mean, I would categorize this as a market, or as a position or a market.
Yes.
Market adjustment that's deferred until July 1.
Once it was fully explained to myself, and I believe the director, it was just such a grossly out of balance that we needed to do this regardless.
Yeah,
that's,
you've got some nurses working.
Yes.
What were the numbers?
Yeah, give us some examples.
Kelly, Michelle, you shared some numbers between Westview or South Central and maybe Ridgeview or Grandview.
I'll just say, just August of this school year, South Central had 164 visits to the clinic, whereas Ridgeview had 754.
Say that again.
South Central had 164 visits to the clinic. This is August of 2019, and Ridgeview had 754. And we have, like, Boones Creek Elementary in September had 978. South Central had 202. Jonesboro Elementary 276.
So y'all must have as many visits to the clinic as you have kids in the school.
Yes, in some of the schools. And our total visits is, for this school year, we've had 31,116, and we've returned 28,927 to class with a return to class rate of 93%. So we're keeping kids in school that need to be in school.
Do you have the number for Boone and Crockett?
For Boone and Crockett, yes. Boone, as in August, saw 554. Crockett saw 263, which the visits itself aren't that much, but the other responsibilities that they have, let's say, for example, this past Thursday, when school was let out at Boone, we had a child who had a seizure, first time ever, so the nurse had to go see that person. Parents called, EMS called. At the same time, we had someone who their oxygen saturation, which should be 100, was in the 70s, unresponsive, had to do a sternal rub, took something prior to school, not responded very well. So she had to, when EMS got there, divert EMS from the first patient to the second. So we need that skill level there.
Right.
Is that, oh, I'm sorry.
Does those numbers include the kids that have to have medication every day?
Yes.
So what our argument is, they're seeing, they got a lot more kids, but what she's telling us is they're seeing less.
For the high school?
Yeah, you said like the Boone seen 500, Crockett seen 200, when Ridgeview seen 900.
They're seeing less in the clinic, yes, but they have, there's a lot more responsibilities. You don't see some of the issues in the elementary school that you're gonna see in the high school.
I wasn't saying I was against it.
No, I just want to explain.
I was just asking, yeah.
Plus they're responsible for the paperwork that's all involved with that.
Yes, there's paperwork, they're looking for, they go through every student for immunizations. So if you have 200 kids to 1,200 kids, they go through every student for immunizations. They go through every card that, you know, you all, if you have kids in school, you fill out at the beginning of each school year. They go through every one of those, looking for medical issues, and then contacting the parents.
That's what I was gonna say. They're mainly responsible for communication with the parents too, aren't they?
There's a lot of responsibility.
Well,
We'll stay on the
do I
financial
need to make a
side.
motion?
Make a motion.
I make a motion.
Motion's on the table.
Okay.
Motion's on the table from the committee.
Yeah.
Call for the question.
I have a motion and a second. I think we're done discussing. All those, I need a roll call vote on this motion.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Slinger?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Thank you all so much. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Yep, thank y'all.
Committee considered the federal fund internal budget amendment for category 71300, since these funds are being reallocated with the same budgeted category. This does not exceed Washington County, does not exceed Washington County Commission approval. Committee moves for approval.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Hale? You want to explain that real quick?
Sure, and this was in the Dropbox with the Finance Committee. So this will be, now y'all know I'm colorblind, so I don't have a clue what colors those are, but there's a page that looks like that.
Green and red.
There we go. Whatever it is. So what this is in the general fund, 71,300 is the category. We're taking $3,000, moving it out of the 71,300 429 line item, which is instructional supplies and materials. We are inserting a line 71,300 718, which is called motor vehicle, in line with the state chart of accounts, $3,000. This is for a CTE vehicle that someone is offering to sell the school. Ms. Mink has been in close contact with one of the mechanics at David Crockett. I forget his name, but he's ASE certified, has checked out this vehicle. It's a Chevy Tahoe 2001 model. And it's to be used for CTE students. I want to say Hollandy students, is that correct?
Yeah, any career technical related field trips, career technical student organization trips, and we could also use it for some of our officers for the clubs go to maybe training, different training than other students. It could be used for all those.
And we are in line with the documentation. What the auditors tell us is when we buy a used vehicle, we have to get one of the national sites like Kelley Blue Book, NADA, or Edmunds even. We have to have documentation that we put this vehicle in with the mileage, the year, and then we get a value on that. And we cannot pay more than $500 above what the average value is on this. So the value of this vehicle ranges from $36.53 to $57.90. So we are in line getting it for $3,000. So that was the purpose of this. At your direction.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, my question is, do they not have access to the vans that we bought for the high school kids? Is there a conflict of scheduling sometimes?
I'm not sure all 6 vans or 8 vans are currently on the road. And yes, there is a constant conflict, I would say, beginning now, running through the last day of school.
Okay, so with this money coming from where it is, would this vehicle be exclusive to the CTE program?
That is the plan.
Yes. And if I may, Mr. McLean, there are 2 vans at Crockett, but these vans are shared with athletics, all the classes, and all the clubs. So it's very common for students to be out on a field trip and they have to be back earlier than planned, so maybe athletics can have it for that evening. Or if you look on the David Crockett website, I actually pulled up the van schedule. They have a van schedule. In the month of February, the vans are reserved every day except 3. March is already almost fully booked. April, I got instant travel requests last week for students going to state competition, and they're having to rent vans from a rental company.
Does it get booked up with athletic teams?
No, I wouldn't say it's all athletics. I'd say it's every group of Boone and Crockett.
Well, I had heard that it was the athletic teams that went in and just booked them in solid.
You know, if they're students, just like everybody else.
But couldn't they use some of the small buses?
That requires a special license to operate those things. If you yell it, you gotta have the license.
That's been discussed in the athletics depot. So.
White fleet requires an operator's license, the yellow fleet requires special license.
Call for the question, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I have something I want to say that I was going to bring up with the director tomorrow, but I'm going to say it in front of the rest of the board, and then me and him, I'd like to have a discussion with him anyway. But when we went on our bus, to the bus garage for the tours, there are some minibuses sitting up there, and I was told that they don't run, or the batteries drained on them because of the GPS and stuff on them. Number one, I'd like to know if the GPS has to be on a bus that we use for athletics or something like that. If don't, okay.
I'm sorry, you're getting away from the motion that's on the table.
Well, I'm still, this is part of it, but I'm I wanna add to this. I'd like to see if we could use these minibuses. If how much life, what we could use them on, so.
Still requires special license.
It has to be, you have to have a Class A, not an air brake, just Class A.
You have to have the same license as our regular yellow fleet drivers. A bus is a bus.
Well, the highway patrolman up there said you did. He
I
said
called the attorney at Tennessee Department of Education. She said a bus is a bus. You can paint it any color you want to, it's a bus.
I tried twice.
Well, we'll talk tomorrow.
Call for the question.
I have a motion and a second.
Call for the question.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee considered a request to install a fencing project at Grandview Elementary out for bid. This will be covered by the Safe Schools grant and is estimated to be around $18,000. The committee moves for approval, and we also requested the director be able to share with us where this fence is going to be.
It will go around the small playground to the right as you enter the campus. It will also, for some reason, the athletic area is not fully encompassed by fencing. This will alleviate that. The entire athletic complex will be enclosed by fence as part of this.
Where is it?
There are lanes between the softball/baseball fields that are, you just drive right in. They're never completely enclosed. If you didn't know they were there, you wouldn't know it, but it's there.
So do they need fencing for, I mean, is this?
A safety analysis was done. A safety committee has to be appointed for every school. It happened this year, and this was one of the recommendations of that committee for granting, that fencing be completed and that this playground be.
And it's gonna be paid for with that grant.
Yes, 100%.
Well, I guess what's going through my mind is 12 years after the school's in place, now we're saying we were inadequate in fencing with the sports field. I guess I need to drive down there tomorrow, because I don't understand this. Is any of it replacement fence around the sports field?
All brand new fence.
I'm sorry?
It's all brand new fence.
I have a motion and a second.
Nobody.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote on the fencing, please.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Motion passes.
Thank you, Sarah. Committee considered a request from the Director of Schools to approve a second assistant principal position at the new Boones Creek School through the end of FY20. The committee approved sending this to the full board for consideration. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Question.
Have a motion and a second.
One question. Dr. Flint, is it through the end of the fiscal year or the end of the school year?
When students leave their position,
That needs to be in the motion.
And what's the
I mean, there
purpose?
is,
If this position, it would be date certain, and the end of it would be when the last student day.
It's to be filled with a retired administrator on the typical 180, 120 day contract.
Actually, it'd be like a 65-day contract.
65, 70, whatever it is.
As you know, Today, the principal is on maternity leave.
Right.
Child born
Just
in-
to help with that.
I have no research to show you what the tipping point is, but that school is north of 850 students. It's bigger than over half the high schools in Northeast Tennessee. It has a principal and assistant principal. We have an interim principal. I've asked Melinda Carr to step in as assistant principal. She graciously said yes. She's trying to do 2 jobs. The school is physically too big. The student body's too big. I think that school is at the point that it needs help going forward this year. And I think during the budget season, this board needs to talk about where is the tipping point? At what point does additional administrative help need to be put in place? And that's why, that's my rationale behind it.
Chad?
I just want to say, being up there pretty a lot, it's a well-needed position. One thing is you put the new interim assistant principal already has a full-time position that she's trying to do, and she's trying to share duties with another full-time job. It's a well-needed position, and especially with a lot of the special ed and stuff that are out there, and I'm glad to see this come forward.
And we don't know when Ms. Hughes will be back. She's, no.
I know what she said she would do,
Yeah.
She can come back tomorrow.
Right. Oh, I think it's
No,
worth.
I guarantee that will-
No. I think it's,
Yeah, I mean, she took leave to date certain, but it's typically, young mothers will say, I'd like a little more time.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger? Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Motion passes, Mr. McClellan.
That completes my finance report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Okay. Policy.
Policy was, we had a policy meeting called on 2/3/20, and we went over the following policies, 5.107, 5118, 5302, 5305, 5403, 5801, 5802. Those were passed on the second and final reading, and 4.704 and 5.700 was passed on the second reading after the first reading was waived. We deleted 6.306, and 202, 207, 208, 209, 302, 305 was passed on the first reading and move on to the second reading at the next policy meeting. And 1.803 and 6.200 were tabled until the next policy meeting. We just wanted to have those minutes in tonight's meeting. I make a motion we approve
The report.
the report.
The report. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the report, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Report.
That's all I have, sir.
That's all you have?
Thank you.
Athletics. Mr. Ganger?
The Athletics Committee met February 12th, 2020 at 4:30 in the central office. Those present were Chairman Todd Ganger, Chad Fleener, Jason Day, Josh Kite, Danny Good, Brandon McKee, Darrell Barnwell. Chairman Ganger called the meeting to order on behalf of Grandview Elementary Principal Rachel Adams and the Blue and Gold Club. Mr. Kite presented a request to concrete the batting cages at the athletic complex. He added the estimate of the project was $4,500 and will be funded by the Blue and Gold Club. On a motion by Mr. Fleener and seconded by Mr. Good, the committee approved the request to concrete the batting cages contingent upon approval of the project by Mr. Patrick. Mr. Good and Mr. Kite reported on the winter and spring sports that they have begun. Mr. McKee asked for clarification on the athletic contract allowing athletes to play sports if they passed the previous year by passing 6 of 8 subjects. It was confirmed this is allowed. Mr. Ganger asked Mr. Barnwell to discuss the middle school golf program. Mr. Barnwell said the current program is a community team and not registered through the schools. He requested guidance for going forward and asked if the sport should be sanctioned. Mr. Ganger said the committee would further discuss the program at next month's committee meeting. He noted a stipend would be required if it is decided to be sanctioned by the middle school golf program. The committee discussed potentially combining middle school baseball and softball teams. The athletic directors will provide participation numbers at the next committee meeting. The committee scheduled the next athletic committee meeting for March 2nd at 5 p.m. Mr. Ganger said he would see that the board is aware of that committee meeting and that we will be exploring the idea to combine middle school baseball and softball programs. Mr. Fleener suggested to also notify the administrators. Mr. Good brought for discussion requiring coaches to obtain CDL beginning next school year. This would be an effort to aid in securing drivers for athletic events. Mr. Ganger said this could be an administrative action and he will discuss the matter with Dr. Flannery. Move for approval of the report.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor of the report, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Committee recommends for Grandview Elementary to be able to concrete the batting cages contingent upon the approval of the project by Mr. Patrick, and these funds will be paid for by the Blue and Gold Club of Grandview Elementary.
Mr. Patrick asked that I convey his approval.
Thank you. Put that form of motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Is it normally that they concrete them, or will they put a rug over top of it?
They will have to put a rug, or I won't say
Something.
have to, but you either, hit with tennis shoes on, or you put a turf down.
Turf, that's what I was trying to say. That would be something they would put down. Okay.
They didn't mention that, but they might find that they have to do that.
Is that something that needs to be done?
No.
It ain't? Okay. All right. I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
That's all we have. Just let me reiterate. Let me reiterate that we have already scheduled next month's meeting, and I know there's been some concern and talk of the baseball and softball programs possibly being combined on the north and south. So please attend this if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make, or let me know ahead of time. And those concerns can be brought up. And Dr. Flannery, I would ask that if you could please let the administrators at all the schools know that this will be discussed. That's all I got.
Okay. That concludes the committee reports, right? Staff reports. Ms. Payne?
Mr. Jeff Simcox at David Crockett High School has asked me for the board to consider introduction of a pipe fitting course. This pipe fitting course is an advanced welding class that covers pipe welding, print reading, creating tees, which I'm not sure what that is, maybe one of you all do, mitoring and other piping arrangements. And this would be in the Advanced Manufacturing Career Cluster. He already is very successful in his welding courses. A prerequisite for this class would be the level 1 and the level 2, which is Principles of Manufacturing and Welding 1. We do already have an established partnership with TCAT in Elizabethton, and Mr. Simcox does have a plumber pipe fitting endorsement. He's also endorsed in combination welding, electronics, and he has field experience as a journeyman pipe fitter prior to teaching. There are some industry certifications, not directly for pipe fitting, but of course we have the plumbing systems, which is related to the pipe fitting that he'll be teaching through the NCCER, and then of course there are welding certifications. He has, just this past year, he has 5 students that have transferred successfully to TCAT and 1 in the machine tool. So he has a very successful program, and he feels that this would be a great asset. We put in your Dropbox the principles of pipe fitting course that he has laid out. And of course, if you approve it, the next step would be I send it to the state, and the state can either approve it or not. So this would not be the final say, but we do have to have school board approval before I can submit further. Any questions?
I'd be tickled to death to make that motion.
Second.
Well, okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
So what would be the cost? Will we have to buy any more equipment than we already have?
He has a lot of the equipment already. I'm actually working on the comprehensive local needs assessment and budget for next year. So if this is something that is approved, I can put in extra funding. There, of course, not being a Tennessee approved course yet, there's not a recommended equipment list, but Mr. Simcox, like I said, he has a lot of the things in class already, and he has business and industry partners that donate things too. But this is definitely something that we can find the funding for.
So is this something he's gonna teach, or is we're gonna require another teacher? And if he's gonna teach it, what's he doing up so he's got time to teach it?
What his course load right now, let me find that. We have another teacher in that career cluster that is teaching the introductory course. And then Mr. Simcox teaches, he'll be doing a welding 1, a welding 2, and he's requesting that this class be a year-long class. So it would be in his 3rd block course. So right now, the 3rd block course, they're calling it pipe fitting anyway, even though the course code that we're using is actually welding 1. But of course, he's able to teach. You're able to teach 1 out of your career cluster. So he's doing it as a 3rd course right now, and that's why he has such success with TCAT. So that's what he's requesting, is that it be a year-long course. He won't be giving up anything. It'll just be in addition to the great program that he already has.
Great.
We keep, and I just like this as a comment about the pipe fitting, but we keep talking about making sure our kids that take these courses are going out and they're ready to work. There may not be a certification for pipe fitting, but there are bukus of jobs right now for somebody who can pipe fit and weld. So there may not be a certification for pipe fitting, but I'll guarantee that there is jobs out there and money to be made if somebody's, and I think that's an important job that we have to make sure we got our students ready.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I forgot to mention on the job outlook, there's currently employed in the area 7,700 with a current job openings per year of over 1,000. So.
I mean, I know a boy personally, pipe fitting, welding over North Carolina, $40 an hour a day. I mean, this is real money. This is people being successful. So I'm tickled to death.
Hopefully the state will think so too.
What happens then, say you move for approval from the state approves, then what happens? I mean,
They'll give us a course code, and then we'll just put that into the master schedule, and he'll have students that are already interested. I mean, he already has students interested, but they'll just be students that are enrolled in his course. So we have to, the state has to look over everything that I submit, and then they'll approve it. If they do approve it, then they'll give us a course code, and we'll be able to implement that in the master schedule.
At one time, this was an 18-month process. When do you think you might?
I didn't bring that up here with me, but I know the special course code window is open through, I believe it's March the 15th. So, like I said, depending on what happens tonight, I'll work on that tomorrow, no later than next week, and then we'll know, because they know we have to have our master schedule in place.
Do you think this could be taught next year?
Yes. That's the plan.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote on this motion, please.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Ms. Dillinger?
Yes.
Mr. Fleener?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ganger?
Aye.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Meredith?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
What, did you say that you had a meeting with Eastman Credit Union?
Yes. Well, we hope. I had talked to a representative from Eastman Credit Union, and they're hoping to get me an implement in March. February is just not a good month.
Okay.
Okay, new business, WCEA.
tried to lock us out. It didn't work.
You should have been on time.
Well, it's because we were with Senator Rusty Crowe
Oh.
and some
I'm
state
sorry.
representatives. That's what I'm gonna talk about. We had dinner with them, about 35 educators, and several concerns were brought forward, and Senator Crowe was very impressive with what things he said, as well as Representative Crawford from Sullivan County, whose daughter is going to be a special ed student. She's at UT. She's a special ed teacher, I mean, and with a minor in American Sign Language. So he is in their face. What are you going to do to make Tennessee teachers stay in Tennessee? And he said, I don't want your rules. I don't want your your government talk. I want direct answers. So he, we were very impressed. But several things. House Bill 1688 deletes the requirement that PE be taught by a licensed teacher with a PE endorsement or PE specialist. Of course, opposition to any forward motion on voucher bills or charter schools. Support of the bill asking for a survey of all school systems for speech therapists. Concern of the abolishment of social studies and science standards to be incorporated into English language arts. One thing that Senator Crowe was passionate about was a behavior specialist for every county for the kids who are coming from opioid addicted, that they're going to require a total different type of education, and that the 4% increase that the governor has planned will go directly to educators and not, portions, whatever, taken out and actually only getting 1.9 or whatever. And an increase to teachers. So, and you mentioned like a $200 increase or?
Yeah, it needed to be more. Just a correction on this, they wanted to delete the fact that a PE teacher would be licensed or endorsed. They're trying to take that away so that anybody can walk in the door and teach PE. So that was one of the points that I directly talked to him about. I just want to make sure.
But that's where we were. It was very nice. So just wanted to let you know we're at, and Senator Crowe is going to be at the rally on March the 16th, and they may ride in a convertible, he said. He and John Crawford. So thank you, and congratulations, Ron Scholar.
Okay, I guess we're down to round table. Mr. McLean, I'm gonna let you go first.
Good evening, that's all I got.
All right, Mr. Anderson.
Good meeting, enjoyed the kids as always, and seems like we're gonna be out of here before 9 o'clock.
Mr. Merritt.
Two things. One, we had today an AP class from David Crockett, AP Civics or Government, toured the halls of government within Washington County and spent some time in the courthouse and over in the Justice Center and at the detention center, which I think was the highlight for them. Tomorrow Boone is supposed to be coming, so I think the kids had a good time and saw something about how local government works. And the other thing is I want congratulations. I know everybody's already thrown it out to Jordan Hughes and family, and glad to have a new student on the way.
Mr. Buchanan.
I want to thank all the students and the faculty who sent us cards for Appreciation Week. They were really fun to read. I got one that said thank you for watching over Lamar, which was really funny. It made me feel like an angel fluttering above the school. And the ones from Westview, well, they meant, yeah, I know.
You
I'm
an
an angel.
angel.
That's right, I'm an angel.
You're taking a little far now. It's getting real deep now, ain't
Be
it?
careful, you might fall off the and the rest of them from Westview said thank you for snow days. So I think I would pass that along to everybody because they really appreciate their snow days, whether it snows or not. And I really enjoyed the positive note we started on today from the guidance counselor. I actually thought that was pretty nice and fun, and then it made, you know, things more positive. And the last thing I have is I would like to request to FaceTime if possible for our next March meeting because I will be out of town on business.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. What if it, well, we can. Mr. Gaines. Here.
Go ahead. Yes, I said I.
You gonna talk to
Passes Chad.
Chad?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I've enjoyed the few school visits we've had so far, and it went really well. And Ron Keel, I appreciate you serving. I think this may be your last meeting, I'm not sure, but I do appreciate you serving. You're a fine young man, and I look forward to hearing good things in the future about you. So keep up the good work. We do appreciate you.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Mr. Plain.
Raquel, thank you for touring, helping us out with the Crockett tour. That was my first tour that I've ever been on as a school board member, and I really enjoyed David Crockett and Daniel Boone both, and I got to see you all in action. Appreciate that, and really had a good time. Congratulations on the Roan Scholar. Thank you. You've been here for several meetings, even when you weren't serving up here, and I really appreciate everything that you've done. You put your heart into this, and I appreciate that. Look forward to seeing you again one of these days. Come back. Want to thank Kelly Wagner was a local celebrity here a couple of days ago, and you know, we're really blessed to have her. And also too, we now have 2 homecoming queens that serve on this board. I didn't know if everybody knew, but we have, of course, Miss Dillinger, and she still looks no different than she did that day. I mean, I really think it. So, and also Miss Mallory. She was homecoming queen the day after her school visit, and so that was really good. So thank you, Miss Fink, and also thanks all the kids and people that reached out there in the school board week. That was really nice. Appreciate everybody's kind gestures, and it's an honor to serve such a good group of folks. So, and thank you, Todd, also for those kind words. I was touched. And,
please pass the frog on.
It's time for you.
Okay. Good meeting, enjoyed it. Just one quick note. When we went down to Crockett and Boone and went through all the technology classes, I was thinking while we was talking to some of those teachers, whenever we do, I think this budget coming up, we really need to evaluate their wants and needs, and I think more than ever we need to push getting them the things in the classroom that they really want and can use to help those kids. And I also was thinking about, you know, every school's got a little bit different classes there, but I think we ought to really look at, I know, I don't remember where we've seen this number, but I think there was talking about the percentage of welding, which makes this pipe fitting thing wonderful. Now that's one of the top jobs in the country right now, so we need to make sure. I assume, does Boone have welding as well? We got to get that over there somehow. I don't know what we got to do to do that.
The welding shop was closed several years ago to make room for the weightlifting.
Yeah, I think we probably need to relook at that. I mean, if that's, you know, a lot of young men's going to be looking for a good future, and that's probably something, I don't know why it closed, but anyway, that's all I got. Thank you all.
Pass the frog.
Lamar Elementary students did a great job, and I too, Annette, like the guidance counselor's activity. The Scope students, good luck at their competition, and congratulations again, Ron Keel. We're so proud of you for being selected Rhodes Scholar. And congratulations to the teachers receiving tenure, and I hope we will be able to celebrate that milestone next.
In the March board meeting, they'll all be invited.
Okay, great. I too have enjoyed the school visits, and I'm looking forward to more. And wow, 8:35, wonderful. Time, 8:35.
I also enjoyed the guidance counselor's activity. I would have loved that, like about when I was little. I'm honored to be on the board tonight, also being Black History Month. Just kind of a coincidence. I'm really happy it played out like that. I'm glad that I got to speak to Dr. Flannery on some projects, so that even though this is my last meeting, that I still have a lot to look forward to as the senior year ends. And I'm just happy to get this opportunity. I'm not really trying to look to the end too much, just trying to soak it all up, and I'm glad that I could be here tonight. So, thank you all.
And Ronco, you spoke at the McKinney Center for an event, did you not? Can you tell us about that just real quick?
So we had we started off with the beginning of the I Have a Dream speech, and then we give some history of, I can't remember, it's Ford versus someone. There was a historical court case that happened here, and they told about that, and then we give some more about Martin Luther King's speech, and then we give some more history, and then I gave history on the education, which was why I could talk about the Warner Institute and the McKinney Center, and that's where I talked about my granddad went to Booker T, and then he went to Langston. I talked about that, and then I just kind of gave the history of education in Jonesboro.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was an honor. Yeah. Jules, I don't know if you guys know her, she's the one that's doing the play that talked about the McKinney Center and the lifelines. She had actually asked me to do it, so it was her honor. I was like, what? So yeah, this senior year has been, I really can't even express how it's
gotten the most out of it.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So, thank you all.
Mr. Flannery, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I'll make sure that the frog gets back to Lamar.
Okay.
In one piece at that. It's in one piece too.
It's stuff in
We'll see if we can get our own frog to keep it.
March the 5th, we have a board meeting, and it will be at 4 o'clock, the Board Connect training for us. So I need everybody here at 4 o'clock to go through the training. And then the tenure reception is at 5:30 for that, and then we'll have the board meeting. Now everybody is going to have their own Chromebook that is going to stay here. So when we have board meetings, the Chromebook will be like this, set up at our table or our seat, and then when we get done, we just shut the door and Jennifer will take care of it. So you don't have to bring your iPads no more, because the Chromebook is going to be part of the Board Connect.
How will we get our info beforehand?
You can still use your device at home or anywhere else.
Google Drive, or will it? We'll have to put something
Google
else.
Drive is no more.
So we'll have to put something on our individual
Give me a
iPads.
link on whatever you use and go directly to it. It's better. I've seen enough of it to know you don't like it.
So
But at board meetings and committee meetings, you'll have electronics provided to you.
So we're going to supply everybody with a Chromebook. Next school visit is Friday. Next Friday, is that when it is? Because I don't have that down.
21st.
21st, Westview and Grandview on the 21st of February.
You didn't mention it, but you've got school tour on the March 5 also.
Right. Boone's Creek.
That'll be good, we're already here.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, it is.
There'll be time in between that visit and
Yeah.
the training.
I got to be on feet sometime, Okay, Boones Creek school visits too, so it's gonna be a long day. Good meeting. Appreciate the Lamar kids and stuff for coming. Thank God for this frog, we've had a good time today, tonight. Anybody else have anything, Jennifer?
Yeah, the ones that are going to,
Downhill?
yes, you're checking in on Monday, and your check is for meals and mileage. Hotel's taken care on credit card.
Everybody get that? Who is going on day on the hill? 4 of us? Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, staff.
That's a record.
See, we're gonna talk about it when we get out of here.